Welcome back to A View to a Grill. I'm Johnny. Today we're going to talk about water pans and drip pans and how to use them. First, let's talk about water pans. Water pans can literally come in all shapes and sizes. I use a variety of sheet pans as water pans along with the racks. This one is put out by the Slow and Sear company and it's used for the Weber kettle. And I also have some round pizza pans that I use for the Kamados. And this one is shaped like a cake pan that I use for my Weber kettles. There are several ways that water pans can help you during your cook. I'm going to go over my top 3 ways that water pans help you during your cook. First way is that they help you keep low temperatures. Now, it can get all scientific-y on how this helps you. I think the best way to explain this is through evaporative cooling. And the best way I can describe that is whenever it's a hot day, you go outside, you start sweating, the sweat starts to evaporate off your skin, giving you a cooling effect. And evaporative cooling happens inside of your cooker the same way. Another way that a water pan filled with water can help you regulate the temperature in your cooking environment is water reaches a maximum temperature of 212 degrees. Now there are cases where you can get water hotter than that, but we're talking about our cooking environment. Another way it helps you keep your cooking environment cool is that water has a boiling point. This is the reason why you can use boiling water to calibrate your thermometer. So for instance, I live at sea level, and according to this chart, at sea level, water boils at 212 degrees. If I were to put my thermometer in there to see if it's accurate or to calibrate it, I can assume that boiling water is 212 degrees. When you have a water pan filled with water, you've created thermal mass that is always going to be less than 212 degrees. The temperature is cooler than what you would do in a normal low and slow cook, which is 220 degrees. Your water never gets hotter than 212. You've created a cool spot in your cooker, which helps you maintain lower temperatures. Now, fire can overcome that cool spot, as we all know, but at least you have something working with you and not against you. Now, the second way that your water pan can help you is that it creates water vapor. Water vapor sticks to your meat, which allows the smoke to adhere to your protein, and this improves the flavor of your protein. It's why we all love smoked meats. And the third reason I like to use a water pan is that you can use your water pan as a heat deflector. Now, if you put your water pan between the heat and the meat, fill it up with water, you've just created a heat deflector. This is going to help you keep the direct heat off of whatever you're cooking. Now let's talk about drip pans. All of these are the exact same pans that I showed you earlier in the video that are water pans. They do double duty as drip pans. Now I have 2 big reasons why I like to use drip pans, and one of them is to make cleanup easier. Now here's a case where I used a drip pan, but I used it incorrectly. Just by taking a look inside of my cooker on the grates, you can see that it's a big mess. Now I did use a drip pan, but I put it under the grates and on top of my heat deflector. This kept my heat deflector clean. On this particular day, I was smoking a ham and I was glazing it with a maple syrup based glaze. The glaze runs down the ham and into the drip pan, and the drip pan worked perfectly. It kept my searing plate clean. Even though it burnt off all of the seasoning, all I had to do was re-season the searing plate and it was fine. But if we look at the grates, they're extremely dirty and it took a little bit to clean those up. Now what I should have done was used one of my racks. If I'd have just placed my ham on a rack, on a sheet pan, it would have saved me a lot of grief during cleanup. By doing it this way, all I have to do is pour a little water into the drip pan, and that would have kept any of that sugar from caramelizing on the actual drip pan. Would have made cleanup a lot easier. The advantage of using a disposable foil pan is you can just throw it away. Now, Another reason to use drip pans is so that you can purposefully capture the drippings. Now, if you're trying to make a flavorful sauce, you can put anything you want to in the drip pan, from wine to oil to whatever. In this case, I have a drip pan that I put a bunch of root vegetables into. I'm adding a little bit of olive oil and chicken broth so that I can capture all of those drippings right into the drip pan. And the chicken broth is adding moisture to the environment. So this drip pan is doing double duty. I also did this with a turkey for Thanksgiving, and you'll end up with all of this liquid gold that you can then turn into a sauce, turn into a gravy, or just make a reduction out of it, and it's going to be fantastic. If you've never done something like this, put this on your list of things to do. Now let's talk about an aftermarket drip pan, water pan combination. Slow and Sear puts out the Slow and Sear with a water pan in it. But this one works differently. The water pan is actually in with the coals. It's kind of a turbocharged water vapor steam. It just lets off a lot of moisture in your Weber kettle. Most of the time when you're using a water pan, it's away from the fire and you're just getting water vapor out of it because the water never gets hot enough to boil. When you're using a Slow and Sear, the water pan goes in with the fire. It creates this really hyper moist environment within your Weber kettle. Since the water pan is in with the charcoal, you actually create steam because the water does reach a boiling point wherever the fire is located against the water pan. A lot of times when I'm using the Slow and Sear, I really don't have the need to spritz whatever it is I'm cooking because there's so much steam and water vapor already in the environment. Now the Slow and Sear with the water pan, highly recommend that product. If you have a kettle and you don't have one, I think you should really consider getting one. It's that good. If I, for some reason, lost mine, I would get another one. Now on the same note, the drip and griddle pan, it functions and it works like it's supposed to, but I think it's, for what it does, it costs a little bit too much money. Instead, go ahead and just get these disposable foil pans. I'll say that I'm a lot happier using the foil pans as opposed to the drip and griddle. Now, if you want to see what I do in my backyard even more frequently, you can always follow me on Instagram. Okay, class is over. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching a BBQ Grill. I'll see you guys next time.